Hey there friends and welcome to LaughNapkin. My name is Frank and today we'll be checking out the subreddit r/ProRevenge. If you're new around here and enjoy these Reddit stories, be sure to subscribe for future videos. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Big shout out to Fred Gomez for the comment of the day. This first story comes from user Grant Flashdance. I was walking home after staying at work really late. Walking through the bar scene, I saw a cab and was so tired I decided to take it home. The first time I'd ever decided to do so. Short, aggressive ride where he's tailgating, honking, swearing, and aggressive as hell despite it being a sleepy city. The fare was $6.40. I give him a 20 and ask for 12 back. Cabbie gives me 10 from a giant wad of money and says sorry, he doesn't have any ones. Okay, dude thinks I'm drunk because he picked me up outside of a bar, and he thinks he deserves a better tip even though the ride was like 3 minutes. I say, what do you mean you don't have any ones? You're a cabbie, and I just saw your giant wad of cash. He persists. I say, no, you're driving me down the street to that pizza shop and we're getting change. He says he won't. When I ask, he refuses to give me his name, and then gives me a menacing, get the F out of my cab, looking like he's gonna punch me in the face. Dude's definitely a tough guy and pretty scary. Think short, stocky henchman type with buzz silver hair and a leather jacket. So I leave, but not before catching his cab number as he speeds off. Okay, it's the principle of the matter. This guy's doing this to drunk kids all night, and probably making a lot of money by intimidating and victimizing these customers of our public service. Screw that. I call the cab company and get my full $10 back, but it takes a bunch of harassment and several months to finally get it. Screw that. I called the cab company's director, who couldn't care less, and who flat out told me he believed the cabbie's story over mine. So not only is this crap happening, but it's being enabled, and the complaints aren't being registered. F that especially. I tell him that if he doesn't take any course of action whatsoever, then I'd be forced to take it up with the city's Transportation Oversight Commission that oversees all this stuff. He basically dares me to do so. Okay, so I enter into this ridiculously arduous process, where after reading up on the local laws, I write a major complaint to the public commission and request that they be fined under certain articles. A couple months later, I get a response letter. Cab company hires this sleazy ass lawyer who claims I'm lying about everything, and had all this malicious intent. Claims I demanded ones and the cabbie didn't immediately procure them, but then did seconds later. And at that point I was so fuming mad that I wanted to exact revenge. Calls my character and credibility into question completely. The letter was so amateur and there were so many transparent lies in it that it was both laughable and sad. So I go to my preliminary hearing, which I took to mean just like filling out paperwork, or at most a private deposition or something. Nope, everyone's there, including the cabbie, the bedraggled secretary who sent my refund, the cab company's director, the sleazy lawyer, a court reporter, and a judge. Ridiculously cheap suits all around for the cab entourage. The in-person sleaziness of the lawyer did not disappoint. Think bad pinstripe suit and pink tie, slicked back hair, a pencil mustache, all resting on a sweaty and anxious fat man whose only apparent mode in trial is a combination of snideness and faux suspicion. The cabbie's giving me threatening looks during the whole thing, and I'm frankly a little scared he's going to kick my butt afterwards. As a bonus, the judge is relatively young, extremely polite, thoughtful, level-headed, and patient. We give our stories. Cabbie gives this really terribly acted story about how I intimidated him into getting more ones, became furious, etc. But he can't even keep his facts together and keeps stumbling over his obviously rehearsed lines. Sleazy lawyer tries to poke holes in my very simple and coherent story like it's a Hardy Boys novel. It was dark. You couldn't have seen the denominations of his money. It's the cheesiest effing thing you've ever seen. Meanwhile, I'm trying to cross-examine him while basically learning on the job how to be a hack lawyer at a crappy municipal hearing. And I even take a few jabs at the cabbie for lying on the stand that were met with various objections. You could cut the tension between me and this cabbie with a knife, and I made a lot of awkward mistakes because of that, but overall it went pretty well. A funny mistake I remember is that the lawyer made some objection, and I butted in and said, That's not even a good point. And the judge cracked a smile in agreement and then told me that I couldn't be subjective during the hearing. Judge makes a ruling a few months later, noting the cabbie was clearly not credible, and orders the cab company to pay a $1,500 civil penalty to the city for various infractions: fraud, not providing reasonable service, and not identifying himself, if I recall. Sweet, I think. But then, months later, lawyer issues an exemption to this ruling, which I didn't know could occur, at around 9 p.m. the night it's due. The exemption brings up all these reasons that they shouldn't be fined. Example, there was precedent for this fine before, and also attacks my credibility once again regarding details of the story, basically threatening to undo the ruling if I didn't respond. I get the notice of this filing via email and frantically write up an official response to exemptions, which was required to address these issues, and I submit it just under midnight. Months later, I think a total of 1.5 years since the incident, after several filings and correspondences, judge examines the new material and rules that the $1,500 fine stands. Got any ones now, a-hole? This is epic. OP sues them over $2 and doesn't get a dime for his effort. What a nice guy. Hit that like button if you think OP is an awesome dude. And honestly, after hearing stories like this about shady cab companies, it's no wonder companies like Uber destroy the cab business. This next story is posted by user Can't Stand Ya. This is not my story. It's been a while since I heard the story, but I'll try my best to get the details correct. I went to a local community college to get my HVAC certifications, and the instructor was an old school, gruff, blue-collar worker type guy. He owned his own HVAC company and would teach at nights after work. Dude was working like 60 to 70 hours a week and had been doing this since the early 90s, when an older guy I knew in the industry was taking classes from him. Anyways, onto the story. Instructor will be referred to as Joe. This company and my school are located in Orange County, California, an area with a lot of wealth. He lived out in Riverside, so housing wouldn't be as expensive, so it's a bit of a drive for him to get to his work territory. One Sunday, he received a call from a woman panicking. Her AC unit in her wine cellar has stopped working and needs Joe to come fix it ASAP because wine needs to be in a consistent temperature. I say wine cellar because down here, we don't have basements in Southern California. Joe explains that since it's Sunday, it'll be triple charged since he doesn't get to relax much working so many hours every week. She agrees as her wine collection is worth 1,000 times the cost of fixing the AC unit. Joe rushes 2 hours out to her house in Newport Beach, and she shows him to her wine cellar, which is a massive room with rows and rows of expensive bottles of wine on racks. He gets to work, checking everything on the AC unit. He found it wasn't getting power, and after tracking down the circuit, he found that the GFI had popped. A GFI outlet looks like this. You probably have one in your bathroom by your sink, and has a button to reset it if it pops. He resets the GFI and the AC unit kicks back on. Temperature hadn't deviated too much from the set point, and all things are looking good. Joe explains to the lady what had happened, and to be careful with liquids around the outlet since if it trips, it'll take out the AC unit. He then tells her since there was no work needed, she'll just have to pay the trip charge, which is $450 since it's Sunday. The customer, who we'll call Judy, was not happy about this. All you did was push a button. I could have done this myself. I'm not paying. Her and Joe go back and forth about her paying, and eventually he leaves without payment. Joe isn't normally one to roll over, but he's tired and wants to go relax on his day off. He drives home and relaxes, trying to put her out of his mind. That would be a horrible revenge story if she didn't call back a few months later, again on a weekend. Help! My AC isn't working again. I tried pushing the button like you did, and it's still not working, and I don't know how to fix it. You need to come out and fix it. Joe reminds her that last time she called, she stiffed him, and that he would not do business with her. She begged and pleaded that she'll pay for both trips in full, and this and that. After some convincing, Joe told her that he would get to her as soon as possible, but since he's in Riverside, it'll take at least an hour, maybe 2 to get to her. She says fine, and they hang up. Instead of getting into his truck, Joe cracks open a cold beer and waits. 2 hours go by, and Judy calls Joe back. Are you close? It's getting warm in the room. This is an emergency. Joe replies, I'm almost there. Traffic was pretty bad, but I should be there in 30 minutes. 30 more minutes go by and she calls back. Are you close? Joe, yes, I'm just around the corner. Give me a few more minutes. By this time, it's getting pretty late, close to 7 p.m., and she calls back one more time. Where are you? Joe responds, Riverside. That was not what Judy wanted to hear. What do you mean you're in Riverside? You said you'd be here. My wine is going to be ruined. And then Joe hits her with, you should never screw over people you rely on, and hung up on her. Most AC places don't take calls on the weekends or nights, so we assume she lost her collection, but we can't know for sure. Anyway, point of the story is GFIs really only belong in the bathroom, and don't screw over people you need. So, first of all, OP drove 2 hours to help this lady on his day off, and she freaking stiffed him? That's just straight bogus. I couldn't be happier with the outcome of this story. Lady needed a life lesson. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you had an amazing time. And if you liked this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you don't like this video, hit that thumbs down. And if you're new to my channel and had a good time, go ahead and subscribe for future videos. And I will see you guys in the next one.